It's another bright day. I'm very happy to be here once more, and I've been thinking, what am I going to share? What am I going to share? We've had several videos about board this, board that, board this, and all that, and I've been thinking, what are even the functions? Yeah, let's even deal with that. What are the functions? What are the functions of a board of directors? I'm asking you. What are the functions? What do you think the functions are? When you hear the board of directors of this company XYZ did ABC, were able to enter into an agreement with XYZ. It's just like the transaction that Flutterwave has entered into with PayPal. That's a recent decision, and that decision is solely board of directors driven. I don't know if that makes sense. You hear of certain strategic collaborations of maybe African companies or Nigerian companies with their sub-Saharan counterparts, with their Asian counterparts, with their American or European counterparts. Those are board decisions. So from that illustration, you can primarily say that one of the core functions of a board of directors is strategically driving the company. What do I mean by that? In terms of formulation of strategy, not necessarily driving the strategy, because driving the strategy is for the management team. And don't forget, the management team, they're actually different from the board of directors, because management is concerned about managing the day-to-day affairs. The board of directors are concerned about providing leadership, providing strategy, driving the company in terms of leadership, the leadership direction, the vision, the mission, all of those things about around the company. Then the day-to-day, the goals, hitting targets, all of those things are meant for management. So let's not confuse that. So when you're talking of strategy, it's a massive strategy, like what's really going on with PayPal having shortlisting, or should I say backlisting, whichever word is appropriate anyways, Nigeria from, transactions, online transactions, making payments. Like the other day, I wanted to make a payment on Fiverr, and I was told I needed a PayPal account. In fact, I actually had one that I used to use while I was out of the country, and I still was using that. I've used that for a while within Nigeria, but I had to cancel my card, got a new card, tried to fix that card back in, and whoops, it shut me out. And I began to research, and I found out that, Flutterwave has something they are doing with PayPal that can enable Nigerians to still do X, Y, and Z, and all that. So that's also a very interesting thing happening there. So that in itself is a strategic movement, it's a strategic move. It's a deal breaker in terms of foreign payments as far as Nigeria is actually concerned. So when you have the right board in place, the right specialized board thinking about strategy, because they are not in management, they are not managing anything. They are not managing, they are not concerned about, the staff didn't show up on time, we have not paid this premium, compliance this, even though they need to monitor compliance through their oversight functions. That's also another function of the board. So since they are not in charge of the day-to-day, their sole responsibility, one of the sole responsibilities of the board, is to ensure that they are strategically thinking. In fact, they are infused with the thought process of the company. Whenever whenever they need to meet and all that, before they meet, they have to formulate strategy. They come together, they are still dissecting strategies and all that, just to provide leadership, to provide that forward foresight, for the company and all. So that's one of the functions of a board. It's a very key function. If you have a board that is constituted majorly on, maybe your girlfriends are the ones on your board, or your family members, like I said in a previous video, your religious leaders, so that the spiritual tempo of the company can be high, and you think that that's going to drive profits. It won't drive profits. Prayer alone, if you just have a board of directors that all they do is to come and pray and sing, sing some wonderful songs and all that, it won't drive profits. That's not what we're talking about, when we're talking about strategy. We're talking about people that have the skill sets to be able to think through a process in a way that the company profits at the end of the day. Yeah, so another thing I've mentioned leadership, I've mentioned strategy, then I've mentioned direction, profitability direction. You don't want to have a board that is only thinking about, oh, sitting allowance or $10,000 per board meeting. Let me just quickly attend that board meeting, make some few comments, and walk out of there. No. The board is also responsible for the profitability direction of the company, because they are there on behalf of the shareholders, and it's also their responsibility, which is also part of their functions, to ensure shareholder value. They must deliver value to the shareholders at the end of the financial year. You have to deliver. If you are a board member and you are not thinking of that responsibility to deliver in terms of profits and in terms of value to your shareholders, then why are you there in the first place? You can just recluse yourself, and if possible, you can resign. You can tell your shareholders on whose power and authority you're actually on that board that you've actually failed them and you are unable to proceed further. It's better off than you are just cashing out in terms of bonuses, you are cashing out in terms of sitting allowances, and all you do with your bowler hat is to just show up and make some, quote some Latin maxims and dictums and all that, and show off your eloquence rather than showing off your depth. So that's what we're talking about. Board of directors, it is your job to deliver shareholder value, to provide leadership, I'm not talking of leadership that you now be dragging with the CEO of the company, like giving him issues and all that. No, I'm talking about leadership in your sector. For example, if you're in the automobile or auto industry, it is your goal to ensure that, in terms of, okay, we need to roll out a rail system. We need to partner with the federal government so that we can have a PPP arrangement where we invest money in rail infrastructure. Beautiful, fine. What's happening in terms of the new solar trend? I know that Hyundai is taking its place in terms of solar vehicles and all that, but I expect a whole lot more Nigerian-based companies that have been infused with the Nigerian dream. They are flesh and blood Nigerian. I expect those kind of companies with that kind of capital base to begin to be in talks with companies like NIO from China, Tesla from the United States, and even in Holland, in Germany, we have a whole lot of solar vehicles, electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, things like that. So it is the role of the board to think of ingenious ways whereby profitability for that company would be guaranteed. That's the job of a board member. So it's not just for you, like I said in one of the videos, you attend certain board meetings, and when you see the chairman, like not chairman of the board now, I'm just calling them chairman, you see like top guys, like they are showing up for meetings. Everybody is dragging trolleys, like they are dragging bags, they are dragging a whole lot of stuff coming to the board meeting. Intimidation. At the end of the day, they won't remove more than 2 sheets of paper from that bag to talk. Then why carry a whole stuff and make the aircraft that you entered? You increase the weight of the airline just because of the books and the documents that you are carrying to show up that you are not actually going to use. So your job is not to show off. Your job is to show up profits. It's to show up profits for your shareholders. It's to deliver value. It's to be crazy about profits. That's part of your role. You have to do that diligently and effectively so that at the AGM of the company, for example, it will be said, okay, profit after tax Union Bank is this. Profit after tax Q1 for GT Bank is this. Profit after tax for Dangote Group is this. Profit after tax for Hatfield Group, for Bethsaida Group is this. Things like that. That's what I'm talking about. So that's the job of a board member. Another thing that has come to my mind, beyond the shareholders that are like the big heavy shareholders, don't forget that there are still the little guys, when you're talking about those ordinary shares, 2 naira per share, all those things. They are the little guys that still put their sweat into that company. They invest the little that they have, they invest their widow's mites into that company. When you are not always focused on the big guy and you look at the little guy who is also investing, then at that point you'll be thinking about, how do I protect and preserve the assets and the investments of this company, the investments of the shareholders, the investments of that little guy? How do I ensure that profitably, by protecting and preserving the assets and investments of the company, that this little guy is also protected? Because You never know what some people are waiting for dividends, you know, to be paid out so that they can do X, Y, Z to move their family from one state of, you know, disrepair to another level of, influence and impact and activity and all of that. So it's your job. When you're talking about the assets of the company, it's your job. When you're thinking assets, it's your job. And I've always said, when you are thinking assets, you must as a corresponding action, you must be thinking of liabilities. So it's also your job when you have an asset-focused mindset, you should be thinking, okay, how do we, to the barest minimum, reduce the liabilities of this company? If, for example, you find out that the company that you have, you're always having one court case today, another court case tomorrow, people are dragging your company from left, right, center. That means that the company is actually failing in the aspect of its compliance or its delivery promise or mandate to customers. Then you will find out situations where somebody boards an airline, for example, like this happens a lot in the airline industry. I'm not trying to disparage any airline carrier and all that. You find out that a flight has been scheduled for 2 o'clock. The person's already on the way to the airport at 12. By 12:45, he's almost entering the airport gate. He receives a message, this flight has been shifted to 3 o'clock or to 4 o'clock. Okay, no problem, I'll wait at the airport. At 3:45, another message comes in. This flight has been moved to 7 p.m. Okay, 7 p.m. is not bad. Lagos to Abuja. If I leave Abuja by 7 p.m. and I get to Lagos maybe by 8 o'clock, I can still find my way through an Uber home safely and all that. Then by 7 o'clock, they are not calling the boarding for the flight. Nobody's talking to anybody. In fact, some of the airline staff have already even they've shut the counter, they are home. They are home and the passengers are at the airport. In fact, I had a client that's something similar to that. He came in from Germany. That was his experience on an aircraft. At 7 p.m., while still at the airport, they did not make any other arrangements for them, even hotel accommodation, because it's not their fault. This is what happens in other climes. When your airline is moved or something happens, the airline will check you into a hotel. They have that arrangement. They check you in. That's what makes travel interesting. They check you in. Then he was now saying, what if his connecting flight, what if he had a connecting flight from Nigeria, maybe back to the US or Canada or Germany, what would have happened? So this is a failure. This is a failure of management. It's a failure of management, and it leads me to the next point about the role of a board. That is the role of oversight. It is the job of the board to ensure that the management team are scrutinized. Their actions, their decisions, their deliverables are scrutinized. Their KPIs are scrutinized. You know, things like that. You don't want to have 100 passengers filing a lawsuit against an airline because of this abysmal service delivery. Abysmal, totally abysmal. How do you move a flight 3 times in a day? Then even when you move it at the last time you said the flight was going to take off, the flight didn't take off and nobody communicated. People waited in that airport almost till 10 p.m. Had to now carry their, some people slept in the airport till the next day. If it was in other clients, trust me, man, like some millions of dollars, the airline will be coughing out money. They'll be coughing out serious money. And when you're now thinking about the assets of a company, that means that management team is not concerned. They are having more liabilities. They are bleeding the company. Nothing stops them saying, our aircraft, we're having some technical issues. In line with your safety and our desire to ensure that you get to your destination, we are moving this flight to the next day at this time, and we promise we will deliver at this time. People will still be offended, but you'd have acted as a responsible company. So it's important. The oversight functions of the board is not something that should just be left, to the whims and caprices of anyone. People don't care. Oh, what's my business? Let me attend meetings and I'm off. No, it's your job. It's your job to put the CEO in check, to ensure that he's delivering. That's the job of the board. There are so many other things that the board actually does, but I feel that I shouldn't pack everything into this video. And I'm sure that one way or the other you are thinking, how is my board for companies, for top companies, top private companies like the OBK group, like the Innocent group, like the Dangote group? There are a whole lot of companies, Bethsaida group. I know a whole lot of group of companies that are doing excellently well, delivering on shareholder value. Those are the kind of companies I'm actually talking about. And I would like to work with some of them. I'm actually working with a few that I've mentioned, and I hope that this video would bring a whole lot more value to those of you individuals who actually act as board members for companies. It is your job. In case you don't know, these are some of the reasons why you've been elected by the virtue of the shareholder power in that company to serve as independent advisors or board, of a company. And I'm sure as you continue to do more, the Nigerian business space will be better for everyone when the boards begin to sit up and ensure that they oversight, they protect assets, reduce liabilities, they do all of those things we've mentioned in this video. It will be a whole lot better for all of us. And till I come your way next time, do have a very wonderful boardroom.